These are the tales from South Florida for you, with your host, Bill Monty.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tales from South Florida. I am your host, Bill Monty. We are into Season 2 now. So Season 1, we visited so many great places like Ocean World and the Hollywood Sportatorium and the delis of yesteryear and the malls that we all visited growing up. And now Season 2, we're going to be looking at the tales of local spots in South Florida and the places that we go to. The first episode here is actually going to be a salute to our Canadian neighbors who were a part of my growing up in Hollywood. If you didn't grow up in South Florida and Hollywood, especially in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, I can tell you that in the winter months when the snowbirds would come down, specifically our friends from Canada, we sometimes were not the most gracious hosts. We complained about their tipping, we complained about their driving. We just basically complained about them being here, despite the fact that they were bringing money and providing jobs for people. And I just want to say that for those times, my friends, my Canadian friends, I'm sorry. But this past week, celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary, my wife and I decided to take a trip to Montreal, as we'd never been before. It was kind of on our bucket list to get there anyway, and to explore the sights and the food, especially, of Canada. So I wanted to give you kind of a brief synopsis of our trip, in the hopes that you will also visit Canada, and when you do, you'll take my tips as to what to do to have the best time possible. Now, we were there a brief 4.5 days. So let's talk a little bit about Montreal and our trip. Not really a road trip this time, more like an air trip, because we went by plane to get us there. First off, I need to clarify something. I do not get compensated by any of the companies that I'm about to mention here. I have no business dealings with them. I'm giving you my honest opinion. We flew up on an airline I had never heard of before called Porter Airlines. My friends, if you intend to travel from Fort Lauderdale, I'm not sure if they fly out of Miami or not. I think they do fly out of Orlando. But out of Fort Lauderdale Airport to go to Montreal, or I'm going to say any place in Canada, I cannot state with enough praise and everything else that you should go on Porter Airlines. What a fantastic experience this was, from start to finish. I have no complaints whatsoever about this. Now, we did upgrade, not to the highest level, but we did upgrade so it would include like a checked bag and a meal and things like that. So let's talk about the experience. When we checked in, the young woman who checked us in could not have been nicer. She inquired why we were going. She gave us some hints and some tips about going to Canada, about being in Montreal. The only downside of the whole check-in was we checked in at Terminal 4, which is the last terminal at Fort Lauderdale, but the plane left from Terminal 3. I'm going to start this off by saying I walk with a cane. I have a slight disability. So walking back to Terminal 3 was an inconvenience, but not the worst thing that could happen. Once we got to the gate, again, we were met with very pleasant, smiling faces all the way around. We got onto the plane. The nice thing about the plane is they're not Boeings. I believe the company is called Embraer, which is out of Brazil. It was not rows of 3 where you had to worry about someone sitting in the middle and all that kind of stuff. It was rows of 2 and 2. So my wife and I got to sit aisle window, and that's just about it. Very comfortable, nice leg room. We paid a little bit extra for, but when I say we paid extra, this was not a lot of money. When I tell you the entire flight for both of us, one way up to Canada, was about $188 per person, and it included a lot, that really was a good deal. I'm telling you, Flight Porter, okay? Take my word on this one here. They serve a meal on the plane, and this is not like some horrible airplane meal. This came with appetizers. I can't recommend the jalapeno and cheese cornbread enough. Delicious. Had a nice little couscous salad. I had peri-peri chicken. My wife had a chicken, it was called a chicken salad croissant, but it really was just chicken on a croissant that had some curry sauce. Came with Ghirardelli chocolates for dessert. My wife asked for water to drink. You know when they come around asking you for your drinks? We could have had beer or wine, but we don't drink. And that's beer or wine at no charge. So when the water came, it was in a glass. It wasn't styrofoam or paper cups or a little plastic water bottle. It was glass. That was just amazing. That blew our mind. Also, our silverware was silverware, not plasticware, not anything else. So a really great experience. The staff on the plane, the attendants could not have been nicer or more accommodating. We got to Montreal on time. Just a great experience. So if you're thinking about going to Canada, I can tell you, take Porter Airways, okay? We landed, we went through customs, which really was not that big of a problem. It's all automated up there, so you get your picture taken, you scan your passport, you go talk to a very nice person who asks you why you're there, how long you'll be staying, where you're going after you leave the airport, and then we went to wait for our Uber. We got to our hotel about an hour later due to some traffic problems on the road. And from there, our trip began. So I'm just going to give you the highlights here. I'm going to suggest that you go over to my YouTube channel, Tales from South Florida, if you want to see a more detailed video about our experience. So a lot of the places I'm talking about, you're going to see some pictures of, including the food, the lunch that was on Porter Airlines, our visit to Chinatown and things like that. And this is a good point to mention, by the way. If you'd like to support us, we do appreciate it. All you have to do is hit that follow or subscribe button, however you're listening to us. And I ask that you do the same if you visit our YouTube channel. We also ask you please share and be sure to comment. Helps us grow the channel, and we do so appreciate it. More information, you can just go to talesfromsouthflorida.com. But back to Montreal. So that night, we walked over to Chinatown, which was very close to our hotel. The Hotel Faubourg was where we stayed. I will give the hotel a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And here's the reason why. We had a very large room, 2 queen beds. The room is really large. Go watch that video on YouTube if you want to see how large it is. It came with a small kitchen, complete with microwave and sink and refrigerator, cabinets, but the cabinets had nothing in them. There was no plates, there was no knives, no cutlery, nothing like that at all, which was strange. So you had to ask the front desk for that, and when they gave it to you, it was just paper plates. And in Canada, they use bamboo utensils instead of plastic. Canada is apparently very conscious of their impact on the world and on our ecological systems. The only downside to the room was it was a bit on the old side. The furniture was a little chipped, looked like they picked it up at a scratch and dent sale somewhere. The carpet could use a cleaning. We were able to open the window, which was nice. We were able to get some of that cool Canadian air coming into the room. For sleeping, we both like the room to be a little bit on the colder side. And the cost was, well, we paid American about $580 for a 4-night stay. That's total cost. That's tax and everything. The staff at the Hotel Faubourg, again, so nice. Just great service. Your stay also comes with a breakfast, which is nothing extraordinary. If you've stayed at a Hampton Inn, you've had the same kind of breakfast. So nothing extraordinary there. You're better off, go out and find a nice place that serves breakfast and have it. But if you're starving when you wake up, it is there for you to enjoy. Some of the highlights of the places we visit. There's a place called the Biodome. The Biodome has 7 different ecological areas where they recreate the living space for animals that would live in them. The first one is the Arctic, so it's a space for penguins. There's real ice on the walls. It's really just a cool place. There's a rainforest. There's a maple forest. There are so many different places within the Biodome. It cost about, I'm trying to remember now, not much, about $17 US. And that's something else. Our dollars go a long way there. But you can actually, you're getting quite a good deal whenever you go. In Canadian dollars, I think it was about $22 or $23, but it actually was about $16 or $17 for us to go in. It's great for families. It's great for even if it's not family, if you're an adult, you're just looking for someplace new and different that you haven't seen before. I've never seen any place like this before. So we did that. There's some other areas in that building. It's where the Olympics were held. I don't remember the year, in Montreal. Was that like, it was in the 70s, I think. So there's a lot of other buildings, but they were all closed. They all open up around May, so we missed that by a couple of weeks. One of the things you hear about in Montreal, of course, for food is poutine. The first place that we went to eat on Friday night was called the Montreal Pool Hall, a historic place, very famous. They do hot dogs, they do poutine, hamburgers, that sort of thing. They've been around since 1927. I'm going to say that unless you really have to, like we did, not the place to go for anything more than a quick bite. The poutine, the brown gravy tasted good. We got the chicken on it. The chicken was not good. I wouldn't suggest there. However, go to Schwartz's Deli. Schwartz's Deli around since 1928. They serve something that's unique to Canada called smoked meat. We would call it pastrami here, but it's cooked a different way. Delicious. Maybe the best meal we had there. And their poutine out of this world. We had it topped with that smoked meat as well as having a smoked meat sandwich. It is a cash only spot. You're going to wait in line to get in. There's always a line in front of Schwartz's, but I suggest that you go there. Another place we really enjoyed, St. Viator for bagels. We wanted to compare that and another place called Fairmount, but we never got to Fairmount. There's a lot of talk about how great the bagels are in Canada. I will say I didn't think they were any better than anything I've had in New York or even down here in Florida. They weren't bad by any means, but there was nothing special about them. So another place we went to, Old Montreal. It's right down by the old port. And one of the places that we went to see that I'm telling you, this is a don't miss. There is a miniature version. I don't mean miniature like teeny tiny like Dollhouse. It's still very large, of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. And it is breathtakingly beautiful. Again, go to the YouTube channel, Tales from South Florida, to watch the video of it. Visit our website, talesfromsouthflorida.com. I'll be posting some pictures and some videos on there. But if you go, you do have to pay to get in. That is a don't miss. We also went on La Grande Rue, which in America we call the Eye. You've seen it. There's one down at Bayside. You've seen it wherever you go. A very large Ferris wheel. But what a great way to see Montreal from the heights. And there are several other places you can do that in the city. They don't really have skyscrapers like New York does. But this is a great way. It was fun. You do about a 20-minute ride on the Eye. Since it's on the water of the old port, you get like a really nice view. One of the things you can see from it is the Casino de Montreal. We went to that casino on Sunday. Again, I can't say this enough. The people were so nice. I've been to casinos here in Florida. I've been to Hard Rock. I've been to some of the others that are down here in South Florida that I don't really consider casinos like you find in Atlantic City or Las Vegas. This place was clean, great dining options, and the staff was incredible. And so many choices of games that you could play. They got roulette, they got baccarat, they got poker, they got blackjack, they got all the machines that you could want. We actually did pretty good on the machines. Very nice experience. Finally, coming back home, we took Air Canada. We couldn't get a flight on Porter. Air Canada, you need to up your game a little bit, my friends. Your staff was not friendly. The seats are pretty uncomfortable on there. Your snacks are minuscule. I'm going to give, where I give Porter 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to have to say Air Canada was about 2 to 2.5 stars out of 5. The plane left on time and it landed on time, but boy, everything in between, unfriendly, unsmiling staff at the gates and also on the plane. The highlight for us of this trip, and I've left some things out. I'm going to be talking more about this on my other podcast, Bill Monty's Guide for Getting Older. So if you want to hear more information, I suggest you go visit over there. I know this episode's going a little bit long, but I can't leave without telling you the highlight of the trip are the people of Montreal. I have some friends. If you heard my behind the scenes episode a little while back, I talked to my friend Dave Campbell, who's a podcaster up in Canada. And I've mentioned several times, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And other people in our podcast group from Canada, extremely nice all the time. We didn't meet one person who was rude, nasty, who didn't treat us like we were the most important people around. And folks, you got to say right now, Canada and the Canadian people, they have reasons to be kind of miffed at Americans. That was not the case. At the times that we were kind of lost, which were several and many at times, inevitably someone always came up and asked if they could help us. From every server, every person who worked in a store or a shop, cream of the crop. I gotta say, we do not provide that kind of happiness, kindness. It really was great. It was absolutely fantastic. So thank you to the people of Montreal, and thank you to the people of Canada. They're under a lot of pressure right now. They don't know how things are going to go with all the tariffs and everything, but they are just treating it as every day. Whenever I saw any news, you don't wake up in the morning to hearing about 2, 3, 4, 5 shootings the night before or anything like that. We didn't. We were there for 3 full days, 4 days where we heard the morning news. Never heard it once. They're going through an election right now for a new prime minister. Nothing like our elections. Even people disagreeing, we're doing it in a civil way. And the other thing I noticed about the television up there, when it was on a Canadian station, not once, not one single time did I see a commercial trying to sell me some medicine that I should tell my doctor about. Never. Down here, it's all you see. Up there, what a breath of fresh air. So what's the message, Bill Monty, you're telling us about Montreal and Canada? Well, Montreal is the only place I've been to in Canada, but if the rest of Canada is anything like it, I urge you, my friends, to repay the kindness and the economic support that our Canadian neighbors have done for so long for South Florida by coming here and enjoying our weather. And they get something out of it too. We've got really nice weather. And right now they could use some economic help. So if you're looking for a place to go, the nice weather is just beginning up there. It's going to be beautiful, I hear. Take a trip up to Montreal. Support our friends, support our neighbors. Give yourself and show yourself a really good time. And remember, Porter Airlines, that's the way to go, right? Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I do hope you'll remember to hit that subscribe, that follow, that like. Always, please visit us at talesfromsouthflorida.com. You've got the Spotify playlist there. You've got the 40 episodes of Season 1. And I want to thank you personally for joining me on Episode 1, Season 2 of Tales from South Florida. Until we talk again, my friends, which will be real soon, this is Bill Monty reminding you, be safe and be kind.
Let's take a talk down memory lane, 'cause the stories around here are just insane. Pirates World, the Sporto and Wolfies too. Palm Beach to Key West, that's where we grew. These are the tales from South Florida for you. With your host, Bill Monty.